It's time for a new era. We're in the season 3 version of the show here on the Sooner Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up. Y'all know that their boy Coop. I am your host Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just go ahead and give us 5 anyway, and gift it. So on today's episode of Sooner Later Sports Show, we're gonna dive into all the craziness that's been going on, like the coaching changing piece. Now, I've got a couple of takes on Brent Venables being the DC. Coop's gonna dive, of course, into the added new defensive coaches and rumors about other movements. And then we'll just wrap things up, chopping it up with you all, because it's been a minute. We've had about a 2-week break. Now we're back. We're gonna start prepping ourselves for the 2025 season. Coop, happy Sunday, man. I miss your face. It's good to see you, man. How you feeling?
Hey, I'm feeling absolutely terrific. The weather is Oklahoma, so we are 100% here still in Oklahoma, where today can be 80 and tomorrow can be snowing, with a slight chance of earthquakes. So
yeah,
pretty exciting. But we get into trajectory season. Right now, The Sooner fan base is starting the upwards trajectory. Not too long, we'll have people going, well, hold on, we can win the national championship. So,
whoa!
That's the end game. That's the end game.
Yeah. I totally get you there, but no, that's fun. Definitely. Shout out to our partners over there at Bet US. They are hooking up the gamers. 150% bonus in the first deposit of $2,000 by using promo code YouTube150. Coop. I'm good. I've been down literally for an entire week, like for a full week.
And vacation.
Yeah. So I go on vacation, right? Enjoy being disconnected. Then all the news drops from Brent Venables' decision. I get a text message as I'm about to hop on my boat, and the text is like, "Hey, I need you to get on here and talk to me about Brent Venables going off Thanos." I'm like, man, I'm sorry. I'm not even available because I'm not around. They're like, oh, well, dang. Get with me later. So hopefully I'll hop on Locked On College Football in the next few days to kind of talk through a little bit of that. You know, it's a little old news. It's still something worth talking about here in the off season. But it has been, I get back from vacation, Coop, and then I go to work I get back on Sunday morning. We're like, it's Super Bowl weekend. We'll let the Super Bowl have its thing because ain't nobody going to try to jump off. Everybody watch Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Monday, go pick up, drop off some dry cleaning, do some stuff for my son and get home. I'm just like, little scratch right here. Just a little scratch. Like, why is this scratchy? Why is this all scratchy? Then I go through 4 days of having 100+ degree temperature. That was horrible. To the point that I didn't have a voice. Like, I was hoping we could have came back last Wednesday because we could have broke stuff down. I have voice. And I was basically laying in my bed trying not to die. But the good thing is, we back. That's all that matters. I'm healthy. You look good. We are satisfied. Yeah, you look good. You feel good. It's a plus.
Hey, I got to ask you though. You bring up you were on vacation. The cruise was dope. You had a good time, and then followed up with a little Super Bowl talk from you.
Yeah. Philadelphia kind of like hacked the game. They pulled basically a Cincinnati. What a lot of people don't get that Cincinnati does. But first, we're going to do this. Edward, thank you for the $4.99. We missed you, too. We missed all of you. 100%. Coop missed you even more than I even missed you, and I missed you a bunch. Like, Coop is fighting me for the level of miss that he felt for you all on this. But yeah, because Coop is a sweetheart. That's why.
I ran a show that I didn't go live where I just talked to you guys, and I just went back to the chats and but no, seriously though, it is last Sunday. Then I'll let you talk Super Bowl. Last Sunday, my wife says, "Well, are you guys gonna do a show?" And I was like, "No." I said, "I think we're gonna let it marinate." And she says, well, won't other like the people miss you? I said,
yeah,
I hope not. But if they do, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And so I will say this: the Chiefs will be trying a little bit harder for the Super Bowl next year because it ain't coming home this year.
yeah. Because shout out to like I said, the Eagles kind of hacked things. Them like the Bengals, to where they would go out and just go get the players that played in like the playoffs. Like they weren't trying to find or sneak and find the sneaky good guy. No, they went to the schools and like, oh, okay, Georgia, you guys play here. LSU, you've done that. Oklahoma, you've got these guys. We've seen you there. You know, Georgia, Alabama. They're just gonna take those dudes. They don't even care. That was it. And they beat the dog out of the Chiefs. But this game reminded me a lot of that Tampa Bay one because the Chiefs
Yeah.
that line was, they were makeshifting it. And you can't do that against a defensive line. And then they got through with 4. So it was pretty simple. They just destroyed them on defense. And then Jalen Hurts did exactly what you're supposed to do. The offense said that we're not going to let Saquon Barkley beat us. So Jalen Hurts went out there and
said, well, I will.
Beat him. I'll do it. Fine. Like Thanos, fine. I'll do it.
I'll do it
myself.
It's, you look back 2 years ago, Jalen probably should have won the MVP 2 years ago. He had that one turnover, which kind of derailed their efforts. But, it's crazy. I heard a lot of people talking about, they see it being a close game one way or the other. But if it did get out of hand, they saw it in favor of Philadelphia. And so it's just crazy. But it just goes to show that when you have an absolute a hole in a chink in your armor, I guess you would say, that you would have to you have to be able to disguise that in the NFL playoffs, which is why I think we see teams like the Ravens continually struggle. Once it comes time to the playoffs, gimmicky teams struggle when it comes to the playoffs because you're playing the best of the best, and they can isolate, and the coaching staffs can isolate, and they can take those toys away. And that's what made Bill Belichick so great for so long. It wasn't just Tom Brady, and it wasn't just, Rob Gronkowski. It was him having Tom Brady and Robert Gronkowski and Randy Moss and Julian Edelman and all those cats. But then also he found the one thing that you wanted to do, and he said, I'll take that. And if you didn't have a backup plan, you often looked silly.
Yeah, and that was what the Chiefs' biggest problem was, is that they basically just said, look, we got Patrick Mahomes, we're just going to let him do everything. And there's a limit to what any human can do, especially without protection. Now, I disagree with you on the Ravens. I don't think they have a gimmicky offense. They just run down your throat. It's kind of hard to be gimmicky when all you do is run it down people's throat. I mean, 3 years in a row, the leading rushing team. Their problem is their defense did nothing to help them. Also, they like turning the ball over at the wrong time. But point still stands. They love turning the ball over. But the Eagles did the opposite. They also found some market inefficiencies. You got Cooper DeJean, who went out there and got him a pick 6 on his birthday.
His birthday. And and listen, man, as a massive, massive baseball historian, it's cute and funny that Cooper DeJean broke the color barrier again in 2025. Being a white dude playing a defense back and just
word to Jason Sehorn.
Yes. Shout out to Jason Sehorn. But
I love Jason Sehorn. By the way, with the Giants.
That guy, I still watching Jason Sehorn. There was one time where he was playing coverage. I think it was on Ed McCaffrey, and it was just like that was just a dream scenario for a lot of people out there. But no, it was just an absolute good game. For people who want to see football, because you saw football winning. You didn't see shenanigans. And I'm not going to lie, that first offensive pass interference on Philly drive 1, I thought, oh, that's not going to help the case for the officials. But it just kept on going, and it looked like the Chiefs were shell shocked right from the get go. And when you have guys like Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, those guys got to get loose because somebody else is getting attention, and they've got one-on-ones and they're breaking them. And those guys, those guys just couldn't really mesh well with Pat Mahomes. And like you said, Jay, you can have one really, really good quarterback, and they can take your team quite a far. But yeah, when Philly started wrecking shop with four down linemen and just got to play with the rest of the cats in the back, it kind of was just bad. So anyway, Congratulations to Philly and to Lane Johnson, Grant Calcaterra, Jalen Hurts. These are guys who had Sooner ties back in the day. Just absolute crazy. To see Samaje Perine on one side as the third down specialty back, and Grant Calcaterra as a blocking tight end. Just those are two bets I would have lost a few years ago when they were in Sooners jerseys.
Yeah, same. I would not have won those at all. But the good thing is Sooners won more Super Bowls, which is once again, this is what the third year in a row we had the most players in college football represented in the Super Bowl, active and inactive rosters. Can't beat that, man. We keep sending dudes to the league, so let's go. The good thing for the good thing for the Chiefs is now they can go back and search for more Bill Beatonbow guys and actually get them healthy so they can play. Because I know Mateer and Wanye were both hurt, so they didn't get to play. Unfortunately, you didn't get to see Blake Bell. Should have saw more Blake Bell if he's still there. I can't remember.
No, Blake retired.
Blake did retire. There you go. That's why I didn't get to see him. But we can get that line going. I'll give it to Creed, though, man. He held his own. He's literally the only offensive lineman that actually did something in that game. It was so bad. And I felt so bad. It's like you saw the line in the middle just pushing forward, and then all you saw was around it. It was just getting bad. It was just like all you saw was just murkiness in the pocket. And you can tell that Patrick was uncomfortable. So good job, Creed. Shout out to you.
Shout out to Bagman with the quote of the day. The Chiefs OL looked like Week 3 Bill Beatonbow coach unit out there. So they had Tooney was he's the right guard, and I think he's been playing tackle for a while.
And he is not a tackle.
And again, some things you can mask them in the middle of the season, but in the playoffs, it's just they're going to take away what you're good at. So,
yep, exactly. So, speaking of taking what you're good at and everything. Now, some of y'all may not agree with this statement, but we got to talk about the attempted poach once again of our coaching staff, which I'm gonna tell y'all now, it's not a bad thing. Let's dive into that first. Shout out to the partners over there at BetUS. They're gonna hook you up 150% bonus on the first deposit of $2,000 by using promo code YouTube150. Coop. DeMarco Murray, Penn State? My God. That, I'm not going to lie to you, was a little bit on the surprising side. Now, let me explain where my surprise came in, and then I want to get your thoughts as to how do you think this transpired. But the Ohio State job made sense last year. Mm-hmm. And it made sense because DeMarco Murray's wife, my understanding is from Ohio. So she has family ties. I think Cincinnati is what I heard. So because of that, that made sense for him to consider a job up there. Just, maybe she wants to be close to her family. Boom. He goes there, maybe even chance he ends up in the NFL. Sounds like DeMarco Murray's working just because he's bored, more so than him just feeling like he needs to coach. But I know he thoroughly enjoys it, and he does a really good job with recruiting. Then Penn State populates, and I'm just like, why? He wasn't getting a raise. He's already making, he's going to make $850K this year. Now it's what he was already making. It already jumped him up from like 2-something when Ohio State came after him. Yeah. But it made sense for Penn State to go after him because when they lost their running back coach to Notre Dame, they needed one. Instead, they took Stan Drayton, which Stan is a really good recruiter, and he's a really good running back coach. Like, really good. So they got themselves a good coach for that two-headed monster in the backfield for them. But honestly, if I thought DeMarco Murray was going anywhere, I would have thought it was going to be the NFL. And I know he's interviewed. There's still one more, I think, potential opening available that would make sense for him to go to, possibly the New Orleans Saints, with Kellen Moore, but that one to me was just, I was like, nah, Penn State doesn't make any sense. Even though the conversations happened, it just still didn't make any sense to me. What did you think?
Yeah, Penn State coming in. I mean, they're going to obviously go after, a big time running backs coach, and I think that the running backs position. Now, there are some really, really good ones out there. Drayton being one, DeMarco being another one, Tashard Choice being one. There are a lot of guys out there, but I think that just the way that position is utilized nowadays, don't be so surprised as if taking a good running backs coach from another top line university. It was more about, let me take one of your best assets away from you more than, this is just the guy that we really, really wanted. But, DeMarco loves this place. Like you said, he's coaching out of desire, not really necessity. He's got more money than he's going to ever need. He's now, I think that this past year, he got like a $200,000 upgrade. And so, I mean, that's almost a 25% pay raise to get him where he's at right now. So, a lot of the fans, let's talk from a fan perspective. A lot of the fans are really, really annoyed at the continual running back rotations. It seems like something that's been a situation going on from the, Kennedy Brooks returning in 2021. Them starting out Eric Gray and Kennedy Brooks and just the tossing around of that. But he's good at what he does. And he's, Agreed. Like you said, he's really, really good at recruiting. So as of right now, he's here. I think it's one that, if he leaves, if he stays, he loves this university. He speaks highly about the university. He's a great ambassador. It also doesn't help that he was an offensive MVP, right? His last year in Dallas, so that doesn't ever hurt that, you were one of the top running backs in your craft at a major university, and then also for a very, very prominent franchise in the NFL. So pretty good.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected him to leave Oklahoma to go up to, like I said, Penn State without the family ties. Like the Jim Knowles situation made sense. And honestly, contrary to all of like the reports and stuff that went down and stuff, I kind of still believe that Knowles was going to be a Sooner if Tim Allen didn't get that job at Clemson. Like at the time, the Clemson job, the Penn State job was not available. And him being a Philly dude kind of made sense that after Clemson snatched Tim, or Tom, is it Tom Allen? Tom Allen.
Tom.
It's Tom. If they snatched Tom out, like while in the middle of the night, nobody knew it was coming, made sense. Like, oh, okay. And then he was able to go back to his house. And so I got it. Made sense. I mean, he's multimillionaire. Flying back and forth in a private plane is not that hard for him and his family. So, But yeah, I didn't see DeMarco making a trip up to Happy Valley. I expect DeMarco to go to the NFL though. So that's kind of one job I'm waiting to see happen. So
think so.
We'll see.
But guess what? A coaching staff in flux typically means good things, or it means something really, really bad. So I think that it's just more the same for this fan base is, what is this year going to look like? Because, if this year goes off and this team, really, really just shows up and does the expectations that a lot of us think, you're going to have more coaches leaving because they're going to upgrade. They're going to be wanted somewhere else. And so that's always going to happen. I know that we still have some names on our staff that folks would help pack, if they got the opportunity that they've been looking for. But as of right now, I feel like as of today, this coaching staff's pretty much probably going to be a set in stone thing for 2025.
I agree. I think there's going to be no more changes on there on the offensive side whatsoever. But we did make some big changes on defense. We added Nate Drilling. You add Wes Goodwin, which that was anticipated the minute that Clemson let him go. It kind of made sense to get him as an analyst and let them continue to pay his salary because he had a buyout. And Sooner Cowboy puts this out there. It sounds like this rumor may be true. We'll see. Wait until there's an official announcement. But sounds like Kevin Wilson may be the latest addition as an analyst on the staff, which is really darn good. You bring a veteran, former head coach of multiple jobs. Didn't have the best runs, but he still has the experience, and he still ran some really good offenses. He ran some good offenses at Ohio State. Bring him in, which is good.
Yeah, it's
can't beat it.
And Kevin Wilson, I think, again, let's wait for this thing to go official, because announcing things early is going to be fun for you as a person on social media and otherwise. But I really, really, really believe that Kevin Wilson being on the staff is a great deal. Number one, Brent Venables knows what he thinks, knows how he thinks. Kevin Wilson's a guy that just, you see it in the NFL, you see it in college football. There are some people who are just really, really good at being a coordinator, and they're just not phenomenal at being a head coach. Right. Maybe it's I look at a guy like Philly's DC, Fangio. Fangio, I believe, was at the Bears, and sometimes you just go to a system or a situation that's just unwinnable. And what do you do after that? Can you take a step back and really just get after it? From a well organized thought process. So I think that Kevin Wilson being on staff, if this thing does finalize and come to fruition, he has been here for a few days, about a week. That is Kevin Wilson. But this is a guy who hated Brent Venables, when he was the OC here, because Brent Venables threw, 2-minute intensity at him at all times. And I also think Kevin Wilson has made some good ideas, or I guess good decisions and bad decisions as a head coach. So he can help out a lot with Brent Venables when it comes time to just game planning, just being out there. And as an analyst, he's not going to be stepping up over Arbuckle for, working with quarterbacks or working, with the offense. So he's going to have that capability to be a little bit more of a floater and walk around, make sure that BV is doing the right things. Or, heck, he might be the get back / we got to take a timeout, hey, leave the defensive huddle alone type of a guy. We always talked about Nick Saban. When Nick Saban did, his coaching rehab, 10-step program with some of these guys. You had guys like Bill O'Brien, who now is leading is at Boston College. You had Steve Sarkisian, who's now, doing a hell of a job at Texas. So it's great. This works out. Whenever you can get great minds on your football team, you take it, especially great minds who are really, really good at their craft.
Yeah, especially ones that are seasoned, the ones that have been through the ringer. Mm-hmm. Kevin Wilson spent time here. He was an offensive coordinator here. He's the reason why Sam Bradford got your Heisman Trophy here. That was his offensive coordinator. He left, gets the head coaching job at Indiana there for few years. He was there for some years. Didn't work out for him, but he worked with Bill Bedenbaugh. He worked with, Luttrell at the time. Didn't work out for him, so he ended up getting an Ohio State job, and he was at Ohio State for a bit. Left there, and took on Tulsa for the last couple of years, and it just didn't work for him. He's older, but the big thing for him was, Kevin like you said, he brings that experience that I think will help a young Ben Arbuckle run the time management piece on offense. That's what I saw out of it. When I saw the hire, I said, okay, it makes sense in hearing about it today that you bring in a veteran like that, they can help with that part of it. The time management component is going to be critical, especially talk on this flip side of Brent Venables now calling the plays on the defensive side. So I wanted Brent to get himself a defensive coordinator just so that he could truly step back and really run that CEO role. Yeah. But since this is a do or die season, as we can, for lack of better terms, it probably makes the most sense that he goes out on his own terms and he goes out the one running the ship, especially on defense. 'Cause that's the one place we don't have any concerns. We're bringing back a substantial amount of the talent from last season. You lose out on your main guy in Stutzman sucks. You lose out on the safety in Billy Bowman, definitely sucks. The athleticism was absurd. Des Malone was fun and he did a really good job zoning things out when he got out there. But you still got Kip out there. Kobe's going to be helping running things. Samuel Mosigo's ready to step up. You pick up a Kendall Daniels. Kendall Doby should be back, and you'll have a good chance of him playing corner. Gentry Williams, he didn't transfer, so it sounds like he's going to be making a return. If his shoulder's right, him and Eli Bowen's going to be an elite set of corners with Doby. So, not to go through every position, you brought back majority of the talent that was there, plus some really good young safeties that everybody's excited about. We watched them hit people, and that's what y'all been wanting. People that can hit people, that can actually tackle, wrap up, and level them to where you're getting those tackles for loss. There was a stat that went around not too long ago that I'm going to drop another video on sometime this week now that I'm back with a voice and I can actually talk for extended minutes, on Oklahoma being one of the top teams in tackles for loss to like the last 2 to 3 years. Coop, that's kind of absurd. The question is, do people expect that?
You know, it's something we talked about early in the season, was the tackles for loss. We talked about it quite a bit last year too. So let's be honest. We talked about it quite a bit every single year that BV has been here. And so the tackles for loss, that has a lot to do with the defensive line was really, really good at making sure that they kept the linebackers clean. And we talked about that ad nauseum going into this year. And so, you know, you get defensive line with the younger names and the portal transfers and then guys just, you know, showing up this year, you know, like an R. Mason Thomas, and those guys put pressure on. They dictate lanes really, really fast. We know what's going on, you know, from the linebackers perspective. You got Kip Lewis, you got Danny Sutzman, you had Billy Bowman, you know, RSJ. Those guys, Kendall Doby, you know, earlier in the year, those guys look to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. And so it all starts with Bates' crew, and Bates' crew will be good again this year.
That's the good thing, is that we brought back so much of the talent that we really needed. I mean, losing Dejon Terry as a graduate sucks. Losing those edges that are veterans sucks, but you're bringing in the younger guys that we've been wanting to see. You've been wanting to see more Koye. You want to see PJ break out. Just got to get healthy. But adding a Marvin Jones Jr., you know, to go along with an R. Mason Thomas, edge room feels good. Why Gilmore, we saw some shining lights out of him. You'll get more David Stone now. This is the year where I think they're just going to throw him in the fire and say, hey, go make it happen, boss. And I can totally see him doing it. So the defense is not my concern. So now Brent Venables calling the defense. My question is going to be, how does it look on the balance on the offensive side? Who's going to help him out? Help try to run that. And I guess you could say that's where your Kevin Wilson comes in. And even the good thing too, on the defensive side, that's kind of where a Wes Goodwin also helps, because Wes is not only a really good recruiter, he knows BV's defense. And they worked very well together. That's how Clemson had some of those top defenses. Now, Wes could not replicate that by himself, but it's probably because he needed that additional mind to help filter through what made the most sense in certain plays, this, that, and the other. And so I think that him and BV working together with Brandon Hall as well, you know, with Bates, Valai, right? And then you bring in Nate Drilling, which a lot of people weren't very excited about it, but I'll tell you this.
Pretty excited.
You bring a young guy in that everybody in coaching circles are talking about, saying, oh, he's going to be something special as he grows. That's actually a pretty good hire, especially if he can recruit. That's what we got to see now. We'll see this year what his capabilities at recruiting is, even though luckily Wes is a really good recruiter. Again, I mean, even with the Sammy Brown situation, he had a lot of – go look at his track record on 247 on the players that dude was recruiting. Just go look at the players that dude brought in, that Wes was a part of, either as a primary or secondary on 247. He had I will pull it up, but I'm not going to fight with anything today just because it's our first time back in a couple weeks, and I don't want to jinx anything. But Coop, Goodwin was bringing in some dudes at Clemson. He's just got to now do it here. He's got to replicate it. And I think it can happen.
You know what's crazy is a lot of people talk about Dreiling and Goodwin, and they go, "Well, we were going after Jim Knowles, and instead we got two dudes out of the rack up by their cash registers who, people are just trying to get rid of." Well, no, not necessarily. I think that Clemson was trying to hold on to the BV stuff way too much, and I don't know it right off the tip of my tongue, but I want to say somewhere between like 28 and 38 overall defensive rating for Clemson this year. So it's not like they were terrible. If prior to this year, I mean, we would have taken that defense in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2017, 2018, 2019, Jay. So everybody would have taken that defense. So, there's that. The Dreiling one, I'm not going to lie. At the beginning, I thought if you get him as like but we got him instead of Jim Knowles, like if you're looking at that, it's not the same situation. Jim Knowles is a situation where if you can make that happen, you add it, because of what we said at the beginning of the show is if you can add a big-time coordinator or a big-time person with great clout and everything. But it didn't happen. So you get Dreiling. Dreiling went out, and he was the author of that defensive show that they put on when they went down to Auburn. Was it 2 years ago?
Yes, when New Mexico State went in there.
Yeah. Beat Auburn in their crib, and
held them to 10 points.
It was held them down to 10. So I'll say this is Dreiling. If you look at last year, he was last second kind of just thrown in as the head coach at a bad program, and things didn't look great. But I'm just saying, I'm not sure that if you take somebody who's not ready for a position and toss them in there, especially when they don't have a lot of opportunity around them, there's a reason why the previous guy gets canned. So what is it going to be this year? Well, first and foremost, I don't think that the calling the plays, the defensive side, it's not like the offense to where you have just 25, 35, 45 different play calls that you are trying to filter in the first quarter. Like, you run your base defense and you point things out and you see things. So, as far as BV calling the defense and getting the defense ready, and this just from this whole perspective, most of this stuff is going to be, Sunday through Friday. Yep. That's where a lot of the BV stuff is going to come in, and he can really float a little bit more. And it's not going to be like he is like calling the offense. Calling the offense is a full-time focus. You're probably calling different plays quite often. And so this defense also, this is a very, 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 senior laden, I guess, older defense now. Not senior, but older defense, where you've got guys like RSJ, who has now been in the system for, is this his fourth year?
Yep.
This will be his fourth year. You've
so
got
many leaders.
So many guys over there. And, I wrote a story for John over at Locked In. We'll find out if it gets published, right? But wrote one for him, and just like the talk points around what this defense is going to have is, I think that you're going to need a verbal leader, is going to need a pop-up. And Kip Lewis is who he is. I also think that don't sleep on Kobe McKenzie being a big-time leader. Kendall Dolby coming back. He's a lead-by-example guy. RSJ, Gentry. A lot of these guys have been around for a long time. And so the defense is going to be just fine. And you're going to have a lot of DCs out there on the field, for any given snap.
Agreed. Your goal here is to keep continuity going on the defensive side of the ball, just like you did last year. And I think they will be able to. I don't think we'll have any questions. Like, Sooner Cowboy asked some good questions here. I got that one for you on OU's defense finished last year in total defense. So, Coop, to your point, Clemson finished last year 28th in defensive efficiency based upon ESPN's efficiency rating. Their total defense was 69th. So, they gave us some yards. Sooner Cowboy, OU, 19th in total defense. 19th total defense. 318. We were one of the tops in the rush, which I can get you that in a second. But compared to last year. I mean, or the season before that. Ooh, buddy. It wasn't very good. Let me look at 2023 real quick just so I can tell y'all how nasty of a difference that was.
And look
as we talk about it.
79th. Yeah,
79th.
I mean, a pretty big jump. But yeah, we gave up a lot of yards, and this is also with our offense doing nothing, with no support from the offense. And how many different times, and in the SEC, I would say this is, if we were ranked 19th, I would say let's double that down. If we played the SEC all year long, we'd have probably been in the 40s. With the way that our offense was incapable of assisting. So I'll go this is you have the offense just not hand the ball right back over time after time after time after time after time. And by hand the ball back over, I'm counting 3 and outs. I'm talking fumbles. I'm talking about next play turnovers. The defense gets quite a bit of a break. And, that's what you're going to see this year is now this defense is going to be led by a kid who literally just runs around like his hair's on fire every second of the day with Kip Lewis. And so if this defense takes after him, you're going to want the offense to support too.
No, I agree 100%. You're going to want that. But I think that we'll see the compliments. And it's funny because I'm starting to see more and more as people are putting together their previews for the year. The one major talking point that I'm seeing is everyone's talking about the Arbuckle-Mateer combo. So that's becoming a big conversation piece. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. But the key thing is adding Nate as well as Wes in your linebacker room like that. Like I said, I just got to see how good of a recruiter Nate can be. And I think Wes will probably be an analyst probably for a couple years since he has that buyout. There's no reason for anybody to allow – there's no reason for Oklahoma to pay him if they can just let Clemson keep paying him. I mean, based upon his contract, he's required to get a job, but he's not really required to take analyst job is a job. Basically how it works. It's in his contract. He's good. So,
and Jay, you say that part again, because I think that's what people don't realize is you're paying him a very, very minimal fee as an analyst, while he's catching a cool meal from Clemson. And so, I mean, all parties involved outside of Clemson are probably like, yeah, analyst seems like a pretty good role for you, sir. Because if you've got somebody who is a CEO for one company and you can come, get him to come consult for you for, $80 an hour, do it. I mean, that's way to go.
Yeah, you take advantage of that. And Wes is going to still get his money because they're contractually obligated to pay the man. And because they got to pay Wes, he isn't he didn't need for additional money, because basically whatever we're paying him is subtracted from what he's owed, and that's how his salary is kind of calculated. So it kind of offsets. But no, if we've beaten this dead horse numerous times, but at the same time, hey Jimmy, good to see you. I don't know how far into the show you are, but we've talked about that. Sounds like Kevin Wilson is. But you know what? As we talk about Kevin Wilson, Coop, let's jump into that offense. But first, shout out to the partners over there at US. They are hooking up gamers. 150% bonus on the first deposit of $2,000 by using promo code YouTube150. Coop, you want to know what's interesting about the Kevin Wilson piece now? I think even more and more. We talked about, a Heisman Trophy that happened underneath Kevin Wilson. You just added in Mateer. You bring in Arbuckle. You bring in a coach that's been around some Heisman trophies. Mm-hmm. And helped build some of the best offenses in college football. Cool. Is there a possibility here?
Vegas thinks so. listen, if you come in to Oklahoma and you become a competent quarterback and even look really, really good, your name's going to be in the mix, especially preseason. I think that we're going to see some pretty cool stuff. The SEC's turning over. It is one way or the other. It's turning over quite a bit of stuff. You're going to have Nussmeier as the kind of leading guy returning to the conference, and he's going to be probably your first team all SEC guy.
Yep.
And then it's a lot of guys. We're going to be facing 6 new quarterbacks. And I literally, that excites me about this for our defense. I was excited about this past year. Mateer has the chance of coming in and, he knows the system. He knows how to do things when things break down. And I think that I can get more into that at another time, but I think that's going to be his biggest area of opportunity is when things break down against Stanford, it looks a little different than when things break down against Auburn or Alabama or Ole Miss. So we're gonna get a chance to see him make plays, and I think it all starts with week 2. Michigan's going to become and be regarded as a good defense. If he goes out and carves them up, it's still going to be a good defense that just needs some time to break in some new starters. But he's going to get that right from the get go, and you're not going to. He's going to have. I don't see OU having 1 or 2 guys at like 1,500 yards receiving, or a 2,000-yard back or anything like that. I see it as a full team complement, and you're going to see. And I'm not putting in comparison for John Mateer on the next name that I'm saying. So please don't be like, well, hey, Coop said he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. But you look this year.
Do we want him to be Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech, though?
Oh, no. NFL Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's not going to have a 5-star receiver that's leading, the country in mentions. He's not going to have a guy that's up for the Doak Walker. He's going to have a bunch of guys who, remind you of Lee Morris. A bunch of guys who just are guys who just show up in good times. And I think that with the new crop of guys, the guys coming back from injury, this offense is going to go as John Mateer runs. And I think that he's going to be kind of holding all the offensive statistics himself. I don't think he's going to have to share it, like I said, with a 1,500-yard receiver or anything like that. Now, I'd love to say that, but yeah, I think Mateer has the chance. And if the team can get to 9 or 10 wins, it's a better chance. And he's going to be going up against a lot of guys with Arch Manning. He's going to be going up against, the quarterback, whoever it looks like it's going to be at Michigan, Jackson Arnold. There's going to be a lot of conversations around the quarterback matchups this year for John Mateer and for the Sooners. And those are only going to help.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. I'm really curious to how Mateer is doing right now with those wide receivers as they're training together. I know that the winter workouts are happening. You see pictures and videos, everybody. You see you see them at all the games for all the other sports. You see them being supportive. If you feel like you see a lot of leadership there. I'm curious to see how the workouts are going. So, oh yeah, good job, Steven. Good job, Stevie. Got himself a 4.0 still. Bravo, man. Love my college students. Hearing that y'all are putting up great grades. No, I'm curious to hear. I haven't really read anywhere in detail, at least, about how well they're doing in practice.
Practice.
Yeah. Or not really, organized practice, but more so player to player training sessions, passing practices and stuff. Haven't heard a lot, but I that's the one thing I'm most curious about. So we'll probably get some sort of reports here over the next couple of weeks. Things are starting to, things are going to get extremely cold and gross. But as we prepare for spring practice, which is right before spring break? I think it's the week before is when they start. I think they start a week, they get spring break, and then they go full in up until spring game, which is April 12th. Speaking of which, you think we're going to cancel ours?
Well, I mean, kind of based on what you're saying, Jay, is the spring games are no longer. It's no longer. It wasn't very very long ago that we had. What was the people wanting to cancel a spring game or not do it so people didn't know the plays and now nobody cares about that. There's never going to be situations where coaches are leaving playbooks, not that this has ever happened at Oklahoma, but coaches leaving playbooks out for other coaches to find them or anything like that. Like it's now like we don't want people to see the guys coming up, and now it's more about tampering because it's not, they're not going to come for a if you got a stud tight end, I'm gonna just throw it out. You're not gonna come for a Travis Kelsey. You're going to come for the guy behind him if he looks really good, because you want to be able to speak to that. And so I just I personally think that we'll still probably have it. I think it's probably going to be a very very pared down version. But with this, you got guys who are wanting to get out there, and shout out to Coach Dent, Gridiron Inside. If you guys haven't checked him out, go check out him. This is he is the father of one guy that is going to be playing his tail off in front of that crowd for the spring game, and he's going to want the coaching staff to see he's ready to take some snaps away from someone else or to take a starting spot. And that's who people are afraid of losing. They're afraid of losing that guy right behind the other guy. And I haven't seen anything yet that makes me think that OU is going to be heading that way. But I would say, yeah. I'm pretty guessing that we're going to probably still have the spring game. It's going to be more about the events with the spring game, and that's going to be more of a glorified walkthrough than we've probably ever had. Because It just seems like yesterday that we were down in the pit talking to Coach Dent, and then talking to Senior Boganowski right when Mike drilled Bauer Sharp after the whistle got blown, and those are guys that are can make a difference in a team. A big time player who's probably not going to be a big time player here. That's what every coaching staff is looking at. They're just looking for it.
Yep. Another question about Kevin Wilson. We'll let you catch up with the show. Hopefully you're catching up. But yeah, we've talked about Kevin. So definitely. And Bagman cracks me up. You say we need a team full of Jeremiah Smiths or Ryan Williams. There's only two of those. There's one Jeremiah Smith and there's one Ryan Williams. They just don't exist. They don't grow on trees. You just got to get lucky enough to find one and catch one. But to be honest, if there's one that I think could be close, E.T. Elijah Thomas could be really good. I watched him there at Chakota. Coop, you may got something dumb. We need to go through all of the true freshmen. We'll go through the class again, just kind of who we think will jump out and everything. We'll do that in a later episode. Let me add that to the notes because I think that's a good it's a good topic for down the line. But I want to jump real quick on the fact that teams are trying to poach our guys. You all should be flattered as fans of this team that you've got other staffs trying to take your coaches.
Yeah.
That means that people want them. We've got one that everybody wants to be gone, but I don't think anybody wants to touch the buyout, and it's okay. Because I also believe that the offensive coordinator likes him and wants to keep him. You may not, but I think he does. And that's kind of where things kind of differ. So it'll probably be another year before you'll see a massive change there. And that's okay. Not even going to complain.
Yeah.
Because I don't see a problem with it.
And the reason why we say this is because there is a significant amount of quality here on this team from a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint. And so, and Bagman just said it. Nobody wants to hit up Joe John. We need you guys to get out there and spread lies about how good our tight end room is so that somebody comes and gets him. And I don't know, just start something like that. But, think about it this way would it be different if there's like 0 people coming after any of our coaching or players? It's if you're coming after a player, I mean, look at a Tulsa. Anytime Tulsa now, since who's the kid who's a first-round draft pick, linebacker Cheetah on Arizona out of Tulsa. I always forget the kid's name. Somebody help me out in the chat. But that, guys like that finishing out their career at a place like Tulsa, it's going to be few and far between. Now,
he just transferred to Arizona?
No. He's been in the NFL for 3 or 4 years now.
You're talking about Isaiah's, not Simmons, not from. You're talking from Tulsa. Yeah, who's with the Cardinals?
Come on, guys. Nobody's got it off the top of their head. But
let me go look at the roster real quick, and I'll tell you. But keep going.
I can hear the sports animal radio sound bites, for him. But he was a kid who obviously was a first-round draft pick out of Tulsa. Xavier Collins.
Oh, yeah, Collins.
Yeah. And so, thank you, Stevie.
He's really good.
Yeah,
Collins is really good.
When you've got like 1 or 2 guys, they're going to come get them. That is it. I mean, they're going to come get your guys. And so, I made a comment that, people were hitting up some of our defensive players. I mean, middle of the season, hey, just in case you wanted to look around, we're going to be needing somebody. And so that stuff's going to continue to happen. And it's not going away, and it's going to get worse over the next couple of years. And I think that the collective bargaining stuff and the paying the players, I don't know if that's going to eliminate that piece there. But it's good to have people who want some of your staffers, especially when it's NFL and then other high performing. Now, if take a shot at anybody specific, but I mean, if Texas State comes after and says, hey, we really want to hire your, wide receiver coach, it needs to be like of course you do, but that ain't happening. But when it's a Bama, an Ohio State, a Penn State, anything like that, that's good for the program.
It's funny. You mentioned Xavier Collins. I think that's a very interesting person to point out, because he's an example of you got to be careful of how you judge players coming from certain schools, right? I mean, he's at Tulsa. He won all of these national awards, but he played at Tulsa. So everybody's like, he's probably not even that good. Now he's 4 years into a career in the NFL, and he's still going.
Yeah.
It's one of those, you've got to just let the evaluators see if they can get the potential out of the player, because he was a 3-star coming out of Hominy. He was 6'4", 220. He was not that big. His recruiting profile, he didn't have anybody after him. He was ranked on the 247 composite 2143, number 29 in the state of Oklahoma. But he gets himself drafted to the NFL.
And number 29 in Oklahoma is kind of like being somewhere in the 200s down in Texas.
Correct.
In specific years, it could be even worse than that. Past couple of years, we've had good years, but yeah, it's.
You just gotta find dudes that are hungry, man.
Because again, what happens when you get a coach with a big name and trying to prove it, and they've got that one paycheck, and now they're bouncing again, they're moving again. Is it because it's hard to follow up? When you are successful. Whether it's real world or whether it is in football, when you're successful, that's why they call the thing the sophomore slump is you get somebody who comes in and balls out and does a really, really good job. And it's hard to follow that. It's hard to follow that because you could do the same exact job and it not be seen as good.
Correct.
You're told good job all year long, and then you get to do the same thing the next year, and they're like, hey, so what are your plans? Where do you want to go? Is there any chance that you want to leave the campus so that we can bring somebody else in? Those things happen, and you're going to see it more and more with some of these players. Because you never know who's going to be the transfer guy that really just balls out. You look at the Hurd kid, the tackle that went to Tennessee. Probably the number one guy that we felt like we missed out on, and early in the season said that could have changed our season. I mean, I don't think the Tennessee fans were clamoring over him by the end of the season. He was Caden Green, same situation. We lose Caden Green. He goes to Missouri. He's going to have these big opportunities and big ideas. It ain't happening. That guy's moved around positions several times, got benched a couple times, and is still looking to kind of recapture that hope and that trajectory that he had here early at OU.
No, 100% agree. He just didn't work out the way he wanted. I'm pulling up his what's your grades right now. His grades over here on PFF because I'm truly curious to how he finished on the year. And ooh, gosh, that
team was pretty bad. On defense, not very good.
Lance finished his grade as a pass blocker was a 61, run blocker was 41. He was bad majority of the year. Wow. His only good game was he had a really good game against North Carolina State. And it was downhill from there. Except for Mississippi State, he did good against the pass block. UTEP Vanderbilt was solid, but he was against Ohio State. So, yeah, it ain't easy. His overall grade was like a 44.9. Big yikes.
Mm-hmm. So, you never know. Listen, projections don't always come to fruition. It wasn't too long ago that we were running in five stars in an offensive class, 3 5-star wide receivers, and I don't have to check back the numbers, but I'm pretty sure between Trajan Bridges, Hazelwood, and Weiss, none of them are have eyes on them at the NFL Combine this week.
Nope.
None of those guys actually turned out to be something spectacular. And injuries play a part in that. Coaching staff, regime changes, things like that always matter. So we'll see. We'll see.
I'm not, like I said, not stressed. I am happy that Brent Venables is going to take over on defense. I do like the additions on the defensive staff. We'll talk about that a little bit more in another video on what Brent Venables is going to have to do going forward. We've got a lot coming up over the next few weeks. We've got, Future Freaks weekend coming up in, 2 weeks or 3 weeks? So you got a lot of the juniors coming into town early March. Let me go look at the date. I actually have it in the cord. They got we've got the visit weekend stuff in there under the threads. Future Freaks, where are you? There it is, 3/8. You got a lot of dudes pulling up for that.
And then, we'll start, as you start seeing names, the Champ U Barbecue will be another one that will be coming down the pike.
June, yep. Jeez,
we use a lot. We use the spring game week for recruiting quite a bit for the spring portal. And last year we saw some really big gets out of the spring portal. Dominic Williams being one, and now their family are now Oklahomans. I mean, they live here now. So that's you can, some of those things change. They just change everything about the family. And so I'm curious about the recruiting weekend that is the spring game. That would be the one thing that I really, hope to God that we don't see that go away, because there's so many opportunities to, bring guys in, let them see a game day, type atmosphere. Some of these kids are, if they're being recruited by other campuses, you run out to BYU, they on a game day may match what we do for the spring game as far as attendance goes. So, and guys in the transfer portal, it's going to be a big deal for them too. So they may be playing in front of 65,000 people and then look up in the stands and see 65 in the middle of the spring game. for us, and that makes a dent in their recruiting process. That's a big thing to them.
I agree. So you got dead period coming up here. Well, we're in dead period right now.
Yep.
Through March 2nd, we'll get quiet period, which means they can come on campus. And so you'll see that with the Future Freaks, and then probably events throughout March and April. Contact period is when they're going to be really doing the spring contacts up until May 25th. And then from May 29th is when you get back to the quiet period. And that's when you have all the weekend events. It's because school at that point's out. You're going to start seeing a bunch of visits. And I know that we've got all 4 weekends in June. We've got activities. So far, it appears. I've seen players tweeting out that they're going to be in town from June, from the 6th through 8th, down to the 13th, and then the 20-something. So the 20th, if I'm correct, is the last one for us. Actually, I think we may go down one more weekend, but that one should be the big one, the big barbecue weekend. And so we have some big OVs coming over that weekend. And so we'll break that down a lot more over time to see. But Chuck, I could kind of totally see where Billy's coming with that. BV was getting used to doing other stuff. You're getting used to trying to run everything. But he also didn't have an offensive person that he could trust, right? So you kind of get stuck. I think he'll be okay, especially with Kevin Wilson coming in as an analyst. I think he'll do a lot to help with making sure on the offensive side things are organized. Because I believe he'll do the Kevin Johns role of doing advanced scouting and really helping them prepare. But I think he'll also help. I don't think he'll have any control, but I think he'll have some input. I think Arbuckle will leverage him as a knowledge base for the true game planning each week or whatnot, which is good. Like you said, Coop, having a veteran that's been doing this for a bit, can't complain about that. That's what you want. I mean, that's what Saban always did. He always had veterans that could run that side of the ball themselves. And the only thing was, though, he also shuffled through a lot of offensive coordinators until he found the one that worked. So as long as we win, I think we'll be fine. So, all right, what you got? You want to wrap it up? Bow on it. What you got last?
Yeah, this recruiting class should be a larger recruiting class. I think that
Really? You think so?
There's some potential for I say larger as in you're going to see kind of like 2 years ago to where you saw a lot of really, really big time, people across the board, a lot of big names involved in it. Let's see here. Sooner Cowboys already mentioned KJ Ford and Deuce Gerald's. Deuce Gerald's has been on campus, I think 4 or 5 times at this point. KJ Ford multiple times. There's a couple of potential flip watches. The running back from Baylor, defensive back out of A&M, safety out of A&M. Like there are a bunch of guys that it seems like we're waiting for that. The staged timeline to really start taking off. Last year we had guys show up. I think was it Elijah Thomas last year that came in and committed, and they were like, "Oh, hold on, not yet." And he was like, "No, I'm just go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and knock this thing out." And he did it. And I want to say it was junior day, maybe, but he hopped on pretty quick. And so outside of those things happening, they're going to have a lot of these events to where if you're coming to these events like the Champion Barbecue, it's because they think that closing time has hit the clock. So, yeah, man, it's you got that. This is going to be a fun year. I will say this, and I know that we've avoided the elephant in the room, Jay. You got lots of sources, a lot of insiders out here, and after the coaching staff search and the offensive transfer portal material, a lot of people want to be the ones giving out this information, want to tell you what's about to happen. I think, again, this year, a good rule of thumb is until it's done, it's not done. It ain't over till it's over.
Yep.
Shout out to a very famous Yankee catcher. But like you got to just understand that there are so many things that nowadays are done until somebody gets a call from a big money donor and says, "Hey, I think that we can add $500,000 more to this effort." And so, I would say that is stick around with, just kind of stay tuned. We'll try to lead you, how our feelings are feeling. But stay tuned. And I would say this is if you see forecasts and stuff out there, grain of salt, more than ever this year, grain of salt. We're going to be on some really, really, really big names. And for everybody who was part of the Fasusi saga this past year, expect maybe like 5 or 6 of those, because when you're in play for big time defensive backs, big time 5-star, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, those things are going to happen. They are going to happen, and there's a lot of universities saying a lot of different things, and it does not matter. Get them on the campus, and we can go from there. And that's going to be the marching order for a lot of these people. So this is going to be a fun cycle, and I think the OU's in on a lot of names that are very, very exciting.
Yeah, if we aren't in a bunch of battles and a lot of quote-unquote drama, a lot of y'all are going to be mad regardless. So we got to make a decision. Either we got to be okay with a bunch of the drama that's going to happen, or we're not. And the drama comes from the fact that all these schools are going to want these dudes that we're going after. Like we got Fasusi to commit, and then you had the end drama, and everybody was wondering if he was about to flip or whatnot, and then he ended up signing, and there was literally drama free. Oklahoma does focus on guys like that, guys that are truly locked in and committed and want to play.
Yeah.
While at the same time, some players, regardless, they're talented enough, they may be low maintenance, but they still got everybody in my after them. So just be prepared. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun few months. We'll dive into that. I'll put together the list of players that I know of that's going to be coming to these events. So keep your eyes open on that. But thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. Shout out to our partners over there at BetUS. They're hooking y'all up. 150% bonus on the first deposit up to $2,000 by using promo code YouTube150. And we will chop it up with every single one of you later this week. Maybe another week. We may have another episode during the week, or we may just stick to the weekends since it's kind of quiet season. We may do one of the two. We'll figure it out. Y'all be good. Peace.